Hello everyone. Today I'll talk about Anchor. Anchor is part of the Luna Terra ecosystem. It's like it's like its own little decentralized application running on that blockchain, and the purpose of it is to create a money market where lenders can lend out their money and borrowers can borrow out money on the other side. And I guess the interesting thing is that you see here on the left side, you've got the Depositor. The Depositor can basically take stable coins, and I think the main one here obviously is UST, which is the US dollar pegged version of Terra that can be deposited into this Anchor protocol, and you will get a stable yield. And that's something you don't see that often in DeFi in general. So I'll walk through how this all works and where that 19% stable yield comes from and how sustainable that might be. It's been around for like almost a year, maybe half a year since or probably 3/4. I don't know. It's been around for a while now, and it's yielded these 19% for people who deposited UST. So it's kind of somewhat to a degree proven, but we'll look into how long that might go. And then on the other side of all this is someone who wants to borrow money, obviously. So they want to borrow Terra and are willing to pay an interest for that, right? And that's obviously nothing special, nothing fancy. So these two parties, we got the depositor or the lender on one side, and we got the borrower on the other side. And usually how it works is that the borrower's interest rate would pay the depositors or the lenders interest, right? So this guy receives interest for putting in money, and this guy pays interest for taking out money. But like it only partially pays it. This interest, like 90%, is pretty high on stablecoin. It's got to come from somewhere. So it only partially comes from these guys. I think if you look into the protocol, it says something around 12% that you pay for borrowing Terra. And so there's some interesting dynamics there. So, but basically how it works, and that's like in most of crypto or DeFi protocols, if you want to borrow, then you have to post some collateral, right? In Web3, we don't have any credit scores where we can trust people, or we can hold them eligible in front of court or something like that. Or, here generally, like if you had a mortgage, say if you're borrowing money for a house, and the bank, if you default on that, they could seize your property. That's kind of how this whole mortgage thing works. So but in this case, you have to post a collateral, and the collateral here can be either Luna, which is the second token in the Terra Luna ecosystem. I've done a whole video on that. I'll link that down below if you want to watch that to see how that works. But basically what you can deposit is like staked or bonded Luna and staked or bonded ETH. So Ethereum as collateral. And this obviously needs to be somewhat over collateralized, and a certain ratio needs to be maintained with that, right? So let's say if the price of ETH drops in comparison to the US dollar, then you might need to put up some more deposit here, put up some more collateral here just to maintain that position, or else you might get liquidated into this out of this borrowing position, right? So that's usually how it works. You put up some collateral, and it's usually over collateralized, let's say 150%. And then you can loan some money. And if you pay that money back, you'll get your collateral back, obviously. And so, that's kind of in a nutshell how this works. There's this Oracle price feeder that feeds in the different prices of these B assets. And again, that's like bonded ETH or bonded Luna that come in. And then there's this Terra yield reserve, which is part of this Anchor protocol. It's like I guess like a wallet or something like that has UST and Anchor in it, and different like these two currents basically. And what it does on the one side is it subsidizes these interest rates, right? So what they have deliberately chosen to do is to somehow subsidize this whole ecosystem, so to stimulate their own economy, to attract more people on both sides, because by subsidizing it, they make it more attractive than it would otherwise be, right? So this 19% is of course super attractive. So a lot of people got into that because of that, right? And put their UST into this market. And then on the other side, because they subsidize these 19% with this yield reserve that they have here, they can essentially offer lower rates for borrowers, right? So you can borrow money for 12, 13%. And if you deposit, you get 19%. There's this gap, right? Of like up to 7% that they have to feed from somewhere. And some of that comes from this yield reserve in Terra. And another part comes from, because in this in these deposits, in this collateral that's put up by the borrowers, they have to put up staked assets, so staked Ether, staked Luna, and they yield a staking reward. And the Anchor protocol basically takes that staking reward and puts that into the yield reserve as well. And recently, if you maybe know about this protocol, you've heard that Do Kwon, he's the founder of Luna Terra, of this whole ecosystem, and he's announced that they're going to put in another, I think, 450 or 480 million UST into this yield reserve. So they had this reserve. I think they sold some Luna for it, whatever, right? So they're trying to keep this 19% up. The yield reserve got depleted because there's so many people on the left side depositing tokens into here, and it can't exactly be met by the borrowing side. Their goal obviously is to incentivize that to get to an equilibrium. And then, so they currently still subsidize that. They put in some more money to keep these rates up. And then, of course, like there's been some controversy. Like if you're following a few people on Twitter, they've been saying like, oh, if this yield reserve gets depleted, then the whole thing collapses. I'm not entirely sure about that, because maybe they won't be able to pay the 19%, and because of this, this 19% is very competitive. So if they can't pay 19% anymore, people might put their money elsewhere. But still, if the borrower pays 12% and the depositor on the other side, then maybe through this staking rewards gets a little bit on top, so they might get like 15% or so. That's still quite good to park your stable coins in and get a yield on, right? So if this yield reserve runs out at some point, they have to break with this stable interest rate. Yes, I can see some people taking their money off the table, but I don't think this will collapse the whole thing. So there's currently a lot of UST in it, and if there's some interest for borrowing, I can imagine that this will then fund the other side as well. So that's something we'll have to see. Certainly something to look out for and watch out for. But that's kind of how the thing works here. And yeah, like I said, there with this collateral here, there is this ratio that needs to be maintained. I'm not entirely sure how much it is. Might be like 150% or even more. Probably like dynamically calculated. And there's this liquidator module within Anchor that watches this ratio. The price of Luna drops in comparison to UST. And the borrower needs to post more collateral to keep this position afloat. Otherwise, it will be liquidated. If it gets liquidated, then there's a 1% fee taken off the collateral and put into the yield reserve. So that's kind of an income stream of the yield reserve, but it only comes from liquidations, which probably don't happen too often. Then the whole thing has a staking mechanism. So one thing I haven't mentioned is they have their own token called ANC Anchor for Anchor. And if you stake that, you get a reward that's paid out of the yield reserve and lets you vote in governance. So users can buy that off the market, I guess, and stake it, unstake it, and receive a yield, a reward on that paid out in Anchor. Another thing that is incentivized is liquidity. So pairing up Anchor and UST on TerraSwap, which is kind of the Uniswap of the Terra ecosystem. There you can provide liquidity for the ANC UST pair, and as usual, you get LP tokens for that, and you can stake these LP tokens with the protocol, and you'll get some reward for that, right? And the yield reserve obviously uses that. If they have an increasing amount of UST, they might use that to buy Anchor for it and sell some UST just to even out that position. So yeah, so that's kind of what the role of this ANC token has in here. And yeah, the remaining thing really is this Genesis supply. So they created 1 billion of these ANC tokens. They're released over 4 years, mostly airdrop to stakers and liquidity providers to make sure that this is that there's enough liquidity and people use these or hold these tokens. And well, they also pay out some borrowing rewards to even more incentivize people to borrow at Anchor. So they'll pay out these ANC tokens, and they'll pay out staking rewards also to liquidity providers. So that's how the whole thing works. I guess like it's nothing really too special. It's just a lending and borrowing mechanism paired with a token in this Terra ecosystem. And yeah, this 19% is something that is special. You don't get that everywhere. And it's definitely something to watch over the coming months to see how that's going to unfold once this yield reserve is depleted again. If they're going to fill it up again, or if they're going to lower that stablecoin interest rate, who knows? Definitely interesting. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.